Good evening and welcome to the virtual meeting of the People's Committee. It's 6 p.m. on Thursday, the 18th of March, 2021. My name is Councillor Linda Broadley and I'm chair of this committee. In accordance with the regulations made under Section 78 of the Coronavirus Act 2020, this remote meeting is being live streamed and recorded. An audio-visual recording will be made available on the Council's website and YouTube channel shortly after the meeting. All meeting participants are reminded to speak slowly and clearly in the direction of their device's microphone at all times. A reminder that mobile phones and other electronic devices should be turned off or put onto silent mode, and that those participating in the meeting should refrain from taking telephone calls. For the purpose of recording the attendance, I can confirm that the following councillors are present and participating in this remote meeting. Myself, Linda Broadley, Geoffrey Kaufman, Lily Kaufman, Sharon Morris. We also have the following officers in attendance: Samuel Ball, Assistant Solicitor, Emily Burns, Democratic Services Officer, Anne Court, Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service, Dave Gill, Head of the of Law and Democracy and the Monitoring Officer, Steve Hines, Deputy Chief Executive and Section 151 Officer. For the purpose of the regulations, I can confirm that before this remote meeting went live, all participants confirmed that they can see and or hear all other participants. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Council's adopted remote meeting procedure rules, a summary of which is attached to tonight's agenda for reference. May I also politely remind all participants that they must not act in a disorderly or disruptive manner or otherwise interfere with the committee's proper conduct of its business. Thank you.
Chair, for the record, Vicky Hewitt has now joined the meeting, People Manager. Stephen Hines, Deputy Chief Executive, and David Gill, Head of Law and Democracy and Monitoring Officer, will not be attending tonight's meeting. And Councillor Kozlowski, that's perfect timing. She's just joined the meeting and her audio has now been connected, so she's also joined the meeting. All right.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Ball. Apologies for absence.
No apologies received, Chair.
Thank you. Appointment of substitutes.
No substitutes, Chair.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. None. Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. May I sign? Thank you. Action list arising from the previous meeting. Item agenda 5. Thank you. Is somebody going to take this?
Sam, I'll take it. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
I think with the interruptions from COVID and in relation to an organisational structure that has been implemented, that I think related to 2019 restructure. And so actually in the past year, things have actually moved on and changed from that. So because of the past year, it's sort of that is out of time now, really, to be able to comment on that. And then employee relationships, the time periods of all ongoing disciplinary cases. Again, because of the, it was a year ago that the last report was presented to the committee. You will see from the current report that actually currently there have not been any disciplinary cases. So on that basis, I think both of those are really probably were historical information that was required, that just with the circumstances have probably moved on from that now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kaufman, Geoffrey Kaufman.
Yeah, thank you. Do I assume that this evening's agenda, which I have read, takes the place of action number 1, or will we get some formal indication of what's happened with the restructuring? Because I understand a lot of things have happened. Normally we would have had an input in to some form of restructuring, even if it's just to be informed. So is there at some time somewhere going to bring us up to date? Thank you.
Mrs. Court?
Yes, I mean, the as the head of paid service, I am responsible for those on the structure of the council below the senior management. I think you all know that any appointments at the senior leadership team level is in conjunction with the member panel. We are in the process of just looking at actually where public service is best fit. You're all aware we're looking at developing a community hub. So yes, those sort of initiatives, yes, we can bring to a future meeting.
Did you want to come back, Mr. Kaufman?
Well, I was only just going to say that really would just bring us up to date as to what number 1 is, because normally in the past, I understand that Mrs. Court is the basically the employer, I suppose, and deals with staffing matters below senior leadership team. But we would have been brought up to date if this event wouldn't have happened. So I'm grateful to hear Mrs. Court's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just check. There are no further questions. So we move on to petitions and deputations.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Item 7, the people update. I think Mrs. Court's taking this. Yes,
and before I start, I'd like to introduce Vicky Hewitt. I think Vicky's joined us probably on a council meeting. It's Vicky's first people committee, and I said I would take the report so that Vicky is also new to local government, and where Vicky's contributed to the report, I said that I would present it tonight so Vicky can sort of be an observer and have an introduction to sort of how the committee is run. And so I might defer to Vicky for some information if necessary. Okay, the report is self-explanatory. It's the template we've been using since 2019, which is the key people information. I think if we look at paragraph 1 of the report, they are the headliners on where we are with headcount. Paragraph 1.2, we're up on a headcount currently, and that is because we've had a recruitment drive at the depot. Sickness levels, we are really pleased that our long-term sickness, particularly in Q3, has significantly reduced from Q2. And if later on in the report, we've done the tables that show the 2019-20 comparison with 2021. And actually, when we look at Q3 comparison, which of course is the winter months, then the long-term sickness is significantly reduced from 263 days in Q3 last year to 104 in this current year. And also in terms of how that compares with the private and public sector national averages on average days lost per employee per year. Public sector is 7.4 days, private sector is 6.6. And at the moment, Vicky, correct me if I'm wrong from the conversation we had this morning, we are just lying just about, is it just underneath the public sector, 7.4 days?
Yes, it is. It's yes, it is. Just slightly below. Oh, can you hear me? Yes.
Okay. And then again, just through the headliners, leavers in paragraph 2.2, roughly year on year, and comparing the 2 quarters in those years, roughly the same amounts. There's a whole variety of reasons why people leave. There's no set patterns, as we've said in the report. Again, turnover is actually down. And what we have introduced is a new corporate induction process. And we have got a new member of staff on board, and who is particularly, her particular expertise is that what we call onboarding and taking people through the journey of their learning and development from the day they start and building those plans for them. So that's a really positive step forward with that. Sickness absence, as I say, the headliner, I think, is the fact that long-term sickness is down. The figures do not include any COVID-related sickness, because that's the guidance we've had, I think, from government or the government departments, not to include that. We have made mention it at the end of the report, but I think importantly, the fact that we haven't had no workplace COVID-related cases, as in the cause was from the workplace, it shows that we have addressed COVID-19 safety in the workplace to a high standard. We did notice reduction in the usual cold and flu absences in 2021, and with everybody home working, we've attributed that is probably likely to that, rather than coming in the workplace and then, you know, spreading germs. We've got sickness reporting by service area, and then, as you can see in paragraph 4 of the report, and as I've mentioned earlier, in terms of employee relationships, we have in Q3, we've had no disciplinary and no grievance or tribunal cases. So that again is positive. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Sharon Morris.
Thank you, Chair. Item 2.2 leavers. It's good to see we're only one higher than 1920, but I was just wondering, do we do an exit interview? And if so, I don't expect to have details and knowledge of who, why, what, where, but I was wondering if we could have a summary of the reasons people are giving for leaving. So totally non-personalized, just, you know, what questions they get asked and what the answers are. But as I say, as a summary, not as per whoever the person is who's left. I'd be interested to see whether there's a common theme, or whether as councillors we can learn from it and perhaps improve something.
Yes, that's absolutely fine. As I say, we'll look at that, and as I say, it will have to be a generalisation, but you know, that is fine. We can include that in future reports.
Yeah, we don't need to know who it is. We just need to know what, so that we can learn from it.
Yeah. Can I just mention there? Yeah, we do always carry out the exit interviews as soon as anybody leaves, and we collate all the data and we do feed back into the department. So what we will do is we'll get you an idea of kind of the main reasons, like you've asked, for why people leave, because it's always important, obviously, to what you can do going forward in an organisation. So yeah, we'll get that information for you.
I can just come back, Chair. It doesn't have to wait for the next meeting. If you've already got this information, perhaps just an email to the
absolutely. Yes, you can do that.
Is that possible?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. And if that email can be sent to the whole group, that would be good.
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else, Councillor Morris?
No, that's it. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Geoffrey Kaufman.
And thank you, Chair. Two things. On 3.3, first bullet point, it talks about or more. What number should be in there? The one below says 10 or more days of absence. I think there should be a number in to say something or more periods of absence over 12 months. That's
3. Sorry, it should say 3. It did say
Right.
3. I don't know where the 3's disappeared to, but it's 3 or more absences, periods of absence in a 12-month period.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
My other point, if I may, Chair, is on page 14, the table on 3, it's the second half of the table, absence reasons, and the bit on page 14, it may be different online, and it talks about work-related stress.
Sorry to interrupt you, Councillor Kaufman. Can somebody tell me what point number this is? Because I'm working off Modern Go.
It's
3.7.
Thank you.
The second half of 3.7.
Thank you very much.
Work-related stress talks about the number of days lost. So we've got anxiety at 88 days lost on the page before in the third quarter. But it's gone down to 6, or come up from 6 to 30, 88, the second one down. And then you turn over the page and, which way around is it? The second quarter, it was 62 days. Work-related stress goes from 66 to 40, and I think it's 3. I think if I got the figures right, it's 3 members of staff. Now, that's a hell of a lot, and I don't know how it's decided whether it's work-related, whether it's the employee it says that, but that surely is a figure that we ought to be looking at to understand why that is happening, because that's out of 281, that's 40 and a half days, plus the other anxiety one. That seems the biggest problem of working for Obie and Wixon seems to be.
If I could come in there, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Anxiety and work-related stress are separate.
Yeah.
And anxiety is covers a whole raft. If it's under anxiety, it is more on the personal issues. You know, people have personal issues that cause anxiety, and so that is not necessarily work-related stress, because if it is identified as work-related stress, then we record it under there. So, you know, that is, I think it's within workplaces, it is your anxiety and your mental health issues that do feature higher in terms of, you know, days lost. One of the things that we have introduced, and which has been very effective, is mental health first aiders. So if somebody is having some mental health issues, and that is whether it's in their personal life or in their work, you know, it's working life, then they are a mental health first aider who's been trained, is assigned to support that employee, and they have regular catch-ups with them. And we have seen how that does work, and we can see that by sort of the numbers that are coming through now. And Vicky, I know she had a look at the current quarter, and again, positive numbers, or as in numbers are down. So
Yeah.
that has been a really good step forward with helping people with mental health issues. And it has been, you know, the last year, it has been tough, because when you think that officers have been working at home, quite a few of us, not myself, I don't mean that, have also had to do homeschooling as well as doing their job. The family circumstances within this COVID environment, people concerned about COVID. So there's a whole raft of things. And sometimes what actually is classed as work-related stresses when they first present, sometimes when we drill down and we do that work with them, it is sometimes actually stems from personal issues that then impact upon their performance at, being able to do, or not their performance, or their feeling able to perform in the workplace. So there's a wide spectrum, but we are on the downward trend, and we are very aware of it, and are continually looking at ways that we can introduce ways to offer support to our employees.
Thank you, Anne. I can understand that, and what you're saying obviously makes a lot of sense. But going forward, I assume that when this plague is finished, we won't be going back to everybody turning up at the office every day. So I'm wondering if that's a good thing. I think, and the other thing that concerns me, if it is wrongly listed as workplace, what's it down as, workplace?
Work-related stress.
Work-related stress. I want to make sure that what is down there really is work-related stress, and it's not an easy way of recording it. Because if I don't know, are these papers made public? If I was looking at working for Oby and Wigston, and I was thinking of coming here, and I saw this sort of figure with work-related stress, I'm wondering whether I'd want to come here. So I just want to make sure that it's correctly listed, if I may. But thank you for that. I'm done for at the moment, Chair, but thank you for the explanation.
I think, Jeffrey, what Mrs. Court said was that it starts off with somebody saying it's work-related stress, so therefore that's how it goes down initially. But when it's drilled down, it could be something entirely different. So therefore, the figures are there. I understand what you're saying, but
I think my problem is that I'm at the age I am, and I haven't worked most of my working life. I was self-employed. And for me, work-related stress would be on the days that for some reason I couldn't go into work and I couldn't earn a living. So I just wanted to make sure that that was actually listed here as correctly. But I'm very happy with the explanation.
Yeah,
so thank you.
They are public. This is a public meeting, and particularly with the size of the authority, we can't really go into details. There's a whole variety of reasons why people have work-related stress. Sometimes they don't like change. Sometimes when they're subject to our policies, sometimes, those sort of reasons. Unfortunately, I can't be more specific than that to protect individual identities.
No, I don't expect you to, and I'm grateful for what you've shared with us, particularly when the numbers are there. And I've noticed if you go to the previous table, I think it is, for the short absences, the one above it, you talk about work-related stress. If I can find it I thought I saw it. No, it's not there for. No, work-related stress is very low, actually.
Yes.
But I don't know whether that 3 is the same 3 on the other side. So it's listed in both places because it's a short-term absence becomes a long-term absence, and it's recorded twice. I don't know how these things are done.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Councillor Lily Kaufman.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome to Vicky. I'm going to go back to the recruitment drive. A couple of months ago, it was perceived that it was really difficult to apply for a position for Oby and Wigston Borough Council online. It meant that the candidate had to retype their CV, some of the questions I felt weren't terribly appropriate, because one of the questions was, why do you want this job? Now, those sort of questions, more in-depth questions, you ask them at interview. I feel it may have put some candidates off. We did let Anne know about it, and I was wondering if anything was done about it. I'm sure it was, but if anybody can report back and tell me if anything was done about it to simplify the procedure. Thank you.
Do you want me to speak, Anne?
If I could just speak first,
Yeah.
then probably give a little bit of detail. Thanks, Lily. It was really useful to have that feedback from you, and we looked at it, we took that on board, and I think Vicky, yes, she's going to say yes. We are moving to a CV-based application, whereas I know that there was that one that put people off. And it is a really good point, and is certainly a step forward for the future. But it's not been a wholesale situation where that, you know, we've not been getting applicants. We've been flooded, like when we were advertising I think it's the Apprentice Gravedigger. We had good responses to other adverts. So I just want to assure you that that hasn't prevented, on a wholesale basis, people applying for jobs. Vicky, if you want to join in, then just probably give a little bit more information.
Yes, yeah, it was good feedback, actually, because I thought when I joined and we were looking at the recruitment, I did think, crikey, this is a long application form, and like you say, when somebody's got a CV, to then have to fill out an 11-page application form. So with that, what we have done is they now, when we go out with an advert, they come in with their CV. We're just working on a monitoring form, because there is a page on the application form that we still need to have in place, so we ensure that goes out as well to any applicants. But we might look at a quicker process going forward with regards to people applying in some kind of form that they can download, but certainly at the moment we're no longer using that application form. It is the CVs and the data capture form as well.
Sorry, can I come back?
Yes,
yes, I think the most important thing is that you are getting the CVs, and you can immediately see whether those are the skills that are required. You know, that is the simplest way, and presentation as well. So yes, I mean, yeah, you're going down the right road. Yeah, well done. Thank you.
thank you. There are no other speakers, so we'll move on to item 8, the review of the HR policies and strategy. It's a verbal update. Is that you again, Mrs. Court?
Yes, I'm happy to take that. Yes, apologies, just due to other pressures, we've just not been able to update the appendix that I think has previously been before the committee. What we can let you know, the main policies of disciplinary, capability, grievance, have all recently, we're just have just finalising draft of those, so we can circulate those to you in the not too distant future for you to have a look at and feedback any comments. We've got as we are coming out of COVID, what we are doing is an agile working policy that's being worked on. Recruitment and selection policy, I think that's one, isn't it, Vicky, that you're working on at the moment?
Yes, it is.
Right? Yes. And so they are the main policies that we're working on and that we'll share with you in the near future.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't appear to have any other speakers or any other items. As chair, I would also like to welcome Vicky and to thank both Vicky and Mrs. Court for their update this evening. But there is no other business, so